So there are some things that do higher risks of being diagnosed or having MS. So you have a higher risk of being diagnosed with MS if you have any autoimmune diseases like type 1 diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, and thyroid disease. But there are other risk factors that don't have to do with any of the above diseases, but there's not a proven reason why some people have MS and others don't. So one of the higher risks or risk factors of having MS is age. So people between 15 and 60 are most commonly affected, but people outside of that range can still be affected by this disease. And then gender also has an effect. So women are twice more likely to be diagnosed with MS than men are, but men could still be diagnosed. And then family history and race, you have a greater chance of being diagnosed with MS if a family member has MS. And white and or people with the ancestry of Northern European are also at a higher risk of being diagnosed. And then climate, which is weird, but it also does have a risk factor in being diagnosed. So people in countries like Canada, the Northern United States, Southeastern Australia, Europe, and New Zealand are at a higher risk because these are all countries that are temperate, or parts of countries that are temperate. And temperate means mild temperatures in areas or regions. So temperate countries are usually located near the middle of the latitude lines. And then smoking can also be a humongous risk factor. So people who smoke are at greater risk of experiencing symptoms of MS, and this could end up causing relapsing, remitting MS. So, and then the last risk of MS is Epstein-Barr, which is a virus called mononucleosis, and it's also known as mono by us, and it's spread by saliva. And this virus is known to be linked to MS more than any other viruses are. And then this picture just kind of shows the 37th parallel and the divided amount of cases. So in the southern United States, there's fewer cases, it shows, and then in the northern United States, it shows there are more cases because the northern United States is temperate. And then the diagnosis process, the physician has to eliminate any other conditions to start the process, and they have to find damage in 2 different locations of the central nervous system. And then he or she needs to make sure the damage took place during different times, and tests and information are needed, like medical history will need to be ran to run tests, will need to be needed to run the tests, and then a neurologic exam will be ran. And then a magnetic resonance imaging will be ran, and it's also known as an MRI to us. And then it allows the physician to see the brain and the spinal cord. So this is an example of what an MRI is when looking at MS. So this is a non-infected brain with MS, without MS, and this is an affected brain with MS. And then the doctor will most likely also run an evoked potentials, and that is it allows the physician to see the electronic action going on in the brain, and that also shows how the brain responds to the working of the sensory nerve paths. And the sensory nerve paths are the nerve paths that carry information to the central nervous system, like the brain and the spine. And then lastly, a spinal fluid analysis will be ran, and then tests that will not help the diagnosis is blood tests, but it could help rule out other conditions that could be possible. And then this is kind of just how they collect the spinal fluid. So they will stick it into the spine and get the cerebrospinal fluid, and it's collected, and then it's ran through tests. So there are a few different treatment routes and options, but there are no treatment that will exactly cure MS. So steroids are often given through an IV when it comes to MS, and it's very commonly used through treating MS. And they reduce inflammation that occurs in the central nervous system. And then many people also choose to go through the route of interferon injections, and interferons are a type of protein created by the immune system. So they fight back the viruses and bacteria that the immune system isn't able to do, and these proteins fight against the autoimmune disease, but how it works really isn't understood. And then Glataram or treatment injection, it does not cure MS, but it does reduce the amount of lesions experienced and reduces the number of flare-ups that occur in the brain. And it's also thought to overcome white blood cells in the immune system that cause destruction and inflammation of the nerves, but it's still not fully understood. And then there's dimethyl fumarate, and it's an oral disease medication, which is very strange, and it's used to treat and get rid of constant flare-ups, which are also known as relapses. And here it just kind of shows the progression routes of the disease. So here it's no disability, so you're able to still do things, and then there's moderate and disability, and then there's disability, and then requires a walking aid, unable to take more steps, confined to bed, and it can unfortunately lead to death. So there are a few different wellness options or ideas to go to get better and to just become more active and sustainable and independent with MS. So exercise always is a big factor, and it allows you to stay fit and strong. And exercising can also end up helping you walk or do more physical activities. So eating healthy is another one. So eating a balanced and healthy diet can improve your moods, and it can also possibly relieve some symptoms. And then getting others involved. This allows others to help you get better physically and even emotionally, get better emotionally and physically, and just feel strong and better all around. And then people like nutritionists, counselors, and massage therapists are all good help. And then talking and sharing experiences through your MS journey is also known to prove help. And share these things with your friends and family, and even a diary or a blog. And just have a good attitude. And it's hard to have a good attitude when you have this disease, but always strive to have a better day the next day, and know that you're not alone while going through this journey. So in this picture just throws different percentages of the treatment routes gone. And like I said, I chose this disease because it's in my family, and it just really impacts my life, and I just hope you understand how much it impacts my life, and I hope you've learned more about this topic.